Hello and welcome to Traffic Paradise Radio. I'm Uno, and joining me today are Immy.
Hi.
And Niamh.
Hey.
How you guys doing? Did you enjoy the race?
It was certainly on the entertaining side of things. Many mechanical DNFs, but that did sort of make the pit stop situations a lot more interesting and confusing, I'd say. Probably what Pirelli wanted, but somehow it wasn't Pirelli that got us there.
Cool.
Yeah, it was definitely a race. I missed the first couple laps because I was at a dancing rehearsal thing. And then I had to put it off for a couple of laps. And I put it back on literally as Kimmy DNFs. And I was like, whoa,
wow.
How did we get to here?
You cursed him, obviously. You should have not been watching at all.
I just not watched.
Perhaps, yeah, perhaps you did curse him. But so I think the most unfortunate thing is you missed Max's overtake. That was such a smooth overtake. I was like, it was like butter. It was just like, and done. Like it was so chef's kiss. Like I was super
It was
impressed.
very beautiful.
It was
very
like
stunning.
Like I want to use the term balletic, like ballet, like
no, I see it, yeah.
Like
nice.
it was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. Yeah, but I was watching with someone who had never watched Formula One before, and I was like, "Come, watch the race with me. You know, it will be
Good
cool."
one to start with, I'd say.
But I had to laugh because, like, so I explained to him, no, they did quali and everything. I was like, oh, and Yuki, well, we'll get to that, but like Yuki crashed, and, you know, so that's why he's starting in the pit lane, and these are the people on pole, and da-da-da-da. And then, so like after like 2 laps, he was like, so does qualifying basically just determine who's going to like the positions in the race? And I was like, sometimes yes. Like in fairness, this was there was a lot of movement in this Grand Prix. You know, not quite for the lead except on that like initial lap, but there was still a lot of movement in the rest of the grid. But yeah, I kind of laughed. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna ask him to watch Monaco next week.
Well, I feel like we got a lot more movement in Imola than we expected, so maybe we can be a bit optimistic for Monaco. I mean, especially since the 2 mandated stops, right? There's got to be at least some movement. The issue with last year was the whole red flag, free pit stop tire management situation. Even if there's not a lot of moves on track, there's going to be pit stop strategy. So at least we have to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm actually, that is something, you're quite right about that. And I know like we'll talk about this more in our upcoming episode on Thursday?
Yeah.
Wednesday. Yeah, so make sure you smash that subscribe button the way Yuki Tsunoda smashed his car into the wall.
Oh no.
And don't worry, I'm a fan, Yuki22. I love him dearly. But it was a great thing. And then you could also smash that like button the way Franco Colapinto smashed that car.
You have a Franco hat to bank that one up.
Don't worry, we're going to talk all about that. But yeah, subscribe so you can catch our Monaco predictions episode coming up later this week, as well as our reaction to Monaco next week, Monday. It is a busy time in F1, and it's a busy time for the channel too. So please come join us. But yeah, speaking of which,
lost him.
Did we get started?
Oh. Yes.
Oh, I thought it was just speaking.
If you can hang on.
Did I disappear?
Okay. You did. Mm-hmm. You got through the promo and your internet decided that was enough. Okay.
No subtlety there.
Yeah. subscribe. Internet cuts out.
No.
Oh.
You did cut out.
Am I here?
Oh, it's getting worse.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We
Am
had
I
a
back
smooth
now?
5 minutes. You're back. You're back.
Yes,
Okay,
Eliza, that was a very subtle promo.
So just hi. Okay, so hi Eliza, and hi Fumika Shigeta. Welcome. But Immy, tell us about the Imola Grand Prix.
Well, yes, like I said, I feel like we got a lot more movement than we expected. That move at the start from Max was really beautiful. Absolutely caught Oscar napping a bit, I think. And he's, I mean, so far has been good from pole, and this was the sort of first whoopsie, let's reflect on that a bit. And then I think McLaren didn't have the pace they expected to have, I'd say. Like, I think Oscar said post race that he at first thought he could just sit behind for a bit and get him back, but then the pace wasn't there. Like in Miami, it was like it didn't matter where the McLaren started, they were going to be 1-2. That was sort of inevitable. But here, it was very much so. You were sitting there 2 seconds behind Max. That gap was slowly increasing. And then I'll talk more about the rest of his race later because I have stuff to say. But I think quite a notable result here are Ferrari fully clawing it back from their quite horrible Q2 double exit, which I was sort of thinking like, are Ferrari going to be my purgatory? Because how do you manage to just continuously get worse and worse and worse and worse? But they didn't have the qualifying rate pace, but they had the race pace. They were there. They were maybe third fastest in the race, I'd like to say. They were making moves. The strategy wasn't as blundery as it was in Miami. They finished higher up than Miami as well. They got more points. So I think overall, there's still one car behind a Williams, but maybe Alex is just amazing. But a good recovery for them. I think also notable, Isaac's back in the points. So congratulations to him picking up another 2. Good showing. And Yuki from the pit lane to P10. Maybe not a spectacular Saturday. I think we can all say that. I think Yuki knows that. He's somebody who also, I think, like Oscar, is very good at sort of reflecting on when he's made mistakes and admitting that and saying we can move forward from here because he pushed too hard on that curb that sent him into the wall. He was very transparent about it. But what he did made up for it on the Sunday. Because I think, honestly, a better result than this would not have come without like a couple cars crashing out. So good for him to truly claw back and get another point on the board. And I think that's why people, every time he makes a mistake, it's, should Isaac be lining up for the seat? No, he shouldn't. Like, just let's calm down a bit because he can claw it back. Bad day
I saw a really fun fact that was saying that Yuki's the first person to go from like right back in like a pit lane start to like P10 since like, wait, no, it must have been like starting completely dead last to like in the pit lane from I know what the stat said, but I know it's not true. But now I've started talking about it, I've got to try and figure out what they were actually on about. It was saying that...
Is it an Imola specific stat or...
No, it was saying that... I might have been actually. It was saying that Yuki's the first person to go from the pit lane to points since someone in 2020. Which obviously isn't right, but I didn't think before I started speaking, and now I'm wondering if it was Imola specific. Like,
I feel like maybe
I think it might have been Imola specific because Imola is notoriously difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say that's an Imola specific one. I
think let's say it's Imola specific. Because I mean even Yuki in the sprint in Miami went from the pit lane to points. So
George Russell in Kota last year, which until this weekend was his last non-top 5 finish.
Oh yeah.
Robin's asking, didn't that happen last year? Oh, yeah, George did saying the George thing. I think the George thing that you just mentioned at Kota,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, maybe a weekend to forget for George Russell. His first non-top 5 finish in God knows how long. I think it was just another one to forget for Mercedes as well.
Yeah.
I don't honestly really know what happened to George's race, whether it was a bit, I think they were struggling on one of the tyres. Maybe it was a bit of strategy. The safety car might not have worked in their favour. I was kind of crashing out, so I didn't really focus on him too much, unfortunately. But, I mean, it's still a better result than Kimmy, of no fault of Kimmy's, obviously, but at least George's car didn't break down. That's the positive from the weekend for him, probably. Yeah. The home race curse. Yeah, Robin. I think it hit everybody that has anything to do with Italy. Let's think for a second. Yuki lives in Italy. Crashed out in qualifying in Q1. Pierre lives in Italy. Ran over a bunny rabbit and then went wide into the...
Two separate bunnies. FP1 and FP2.
Two bunnies.
And then went into the gravel and lost any chance of a points position. Kimmy, Italian, car breaks down. Oh god, who else?
Ferrari.
Thank you. Double Q2 exit. Sorry, I'm forgetting. Oscar, technically like 3/16 Italian, gets fucked over by strategy. I'll bring that up later.
But the actual home team,
absolutely nowhere.
Oh yeah, I mean,
but
Isaac
did okay. 9.
Yeah, yay!
So VCOP almost never gets double points. So one car in the points is about as good as it gets for VCOP. So Isaac getting P9 at the home Grand Prix, that's like a win for them, 100%.
Yeah, I think VCOP is the only one to avoid the curse this year, but it really hit everybody that had anything to do with Italy. So, good lord, right? Haas is kind of worrying what they've got going on because
they were nowhere this weekend.
They were nowhere this weekend. And it's 2 weekends in a row now that one of their cars has had a mechanical DNF. Is that to do with the car or to do with the power unit? Like, is it a Ferrari issue? Because that's 3 Ferrari power unit cars gone in the last 2 races. Or is it a Haas issue? Because 2 of those 3 cars were Haas cars.
The other one was Sauber, right?
Yes, it was Sauber. It was Bortoletto. But they were nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. And that's worrying, I think. And I think there are tracks that are more different than Miami and Imola, but they also aren't the same. I mean, if you just look at the race pace for the McLaren between Miami and Imola, you can tell they are different tracks. And for the Haas to be struggling on both of them is not a great sign. I mean, the Haas has struggled more than it hasn't, but it has been lucky. So we'll have to see. But I think Aston might be right on their tail. And yeah, Franco Colapinto, first race, didn't make a mark. A good one, I'd say. Maybe not. We can move on to the driver's standings now.
His fans did, but we'll talk about
that. Yeah. Well, they're always making a mark. Not a massive amount of movement on the left side of the board. Lewis Hamilton overtook Kimi Antonelli, obviously with Kimi's no points finish. That did not help him at all. Robin says, I wonder if Alpine is regretting the decision. I'd say, I don't know, because they're probably still getting all that money from those sponsors, which is nice no matter the result.
I also think it's a bit too soon to tell, because if he crashes in all 4 of the next races, then they're going to be like, oh, we did actually make a mistake. But then, I don't know. I feel like it's too soon to say, because he could also have one of his brilliant performances like he did last year and get like a P7 or something. In which case, good for him. But I think it's too soon to tell.
Yeah, I think as much as I am annoyed with the lack of time and grace they gave Jack, I think now that Franco is in the car, it would be hypocritical not to give him that time and grace, right? I don't want to make a judgment yet, but I'd say it's not looking outstanding. But then, I mean, the Alpine hasn't been an outstanding car. So I feel like you really can't make a judgment. Let's just hope that he keeps his nose clean in Monaco, and doesn't crash. I think that's a good place to be. Yeah, notable movement on the right side of the standings. Carlos has jumped to P11, and then that's pushed Yuki and Pierre down a place, and Isaac's jumped up as well. So some notable movement. It's quite tight for those spots from P9 to sort of P15. There's not even 10 points in it there. Alex Albon, though, look at that gargantuan gap.
He's so good this year. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Honestly,
well, when we disqualify all the teams that have been accused of cheating, I think that puts him at about P3.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that his gap to Kimmy is smaller than his gap to Esteban is mad, and it's smaller by a large amount. 8 or 26. I mean,
essentially, that P8 slot should belong to Yuki / Liam. You know, it's the spot for it's Perez's spot from last season. It's P8. That's about roughly where that Red Bull second car can manage. Given the instability in that seat, it's just been a it's just been a nightmare. And Alex has been the only one who has consistently sort of jumped at that opportunity for those points. And he's the one that's there every week in the running, making sure. I think there was one race where he didn't score points, But other than that, he's always been in the fights. He's always been in the hunt. And not just for like 1 point, like for a big haul of points. I mean, there was like, I remember tweeting at some point during the race, I was like, Albon podium, like incoming kind of thing, because he was like in the 3rd position, and in fairness, did have quite a pace. So yeah, I think he's done a phenomenal job, and I think it's not just the Williams, because Carlos has not been doing so well. I think the Williams is a good car. Don't get me wrong, but I think Alex is extracting everything he possibly can out of that car, and it's wonderful to see. Really, to see a non-top 4 driver, top 4 team driver taking up space in the top 8 is amazing. And I do wish that will end at some point, because obviously I'm a Yuki fan and I want Yuki to jump into the top 8, but it could be that Antonelli falls out of the top 8, or Hamilton or Leclerc, because there's not that much, there's 21 points between Albon and Leclerc. It's probably less likely for Leclerc, but definitely Hamilton and Antonelli are in a danger zone as well when it comes to Albon. And that's just fascinating, and not anything I would have predicted last season. So this is great for Alex.
Yeah, I think
if you go first.
Okay, thank you. It was quite close. In a different world, he could have had a podium, to be honest. And the fact that we're even talking about that is quite astounding. Like, he was in the running. If I hate that if the race had been longer gimmick, but if it had, Oscar couldn't have held on with those old tires. If it had, and if the sort of Leclerc Albon little incident had gone differently, then Lewis would not have gotten in front of him. He could have really been on for a P4. That was very, very possible today. Lewis might have caught up to him, but Alex was also on new tires. He very much so could have held on to P4. And that's just like, wow. And I don't think Williams were expecting this. This is at least, and I can't cast my mind back to Saudi Arabia, but this is at least 2 double points finishes in a row. And Miami was sort of like we don't know if we're going to be this good everywhere, but somehow they've come away from Imola with more points.
Mm.
And here are the standings. Plus 14 for Williams, more than Mercedes gained this weekend. So, astounding job, really.
26 points for Red Bull. Yuki did his part, yo.
Mm-hmm.
1 point. But it was hard.
Niamh, what did you want to add?
Oh, it was just I was going to say that even if Yuki ends up P9 at the end of the season behind Alex, I won't even care that much because Alex has worked so hard to get that. Like, if Yuki ends up P10 behind someone else, I'll be a little bit annoyed. But P9 behind Alex Albon after putting in all these performances, absolutely, that's like the best we could do because
I totally
we were
agree.
in a great team.
Yeah, no,
I totally
100%.
agree.
100%. What I think is interesting there is that obviously Mercedes only gaining 6 points, Ferrari gaining 20 points. You know, that's big. That's a big points difference. And you know, so at the moment they are, what's that? Is it 33 apart from each other? Which isn't huge, but it's also not small. But like a couple more weekends like that, and Ferrari is now like in a position to be fighting for P3 in the championship again, you know. So definitely something to look for. And it's surprising because Mercedes have been so consistent this season, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of, it was kind of like a nothing race for them, but that like nothing is not insignificant. It's rather, it's very significant because it shows that something went wrong. And I do hope it's just like a one-off for them because, you know, I mean, it's nice when we get a bit of turquoise in the predictions.
Well, a lot of people predicted that and it didn't work out. I think they won't be gunning for a mechanical DNF every week, but Kimi certainly wasn't making the job easy for himself from the start. I'd say maybe that's a bit of home race nerves, and I mean he is so young and a rookie. It's a lot to deal with. I'd say, sort of like. So I honestly completely understand his performance this weekend, and I'm not going to like say, oh, he should have done better, because it's a new experience, it's a new task, and it's something to learn from, and that is what he should be doing this year, learning, and so it's fine. And then he would probably have been on for a points finish. The mechanical DNF put an end to that quite swiftly, but I think this is really turning into a free horse race for P2, and even when McLaren didn't optimize their weekend, they've still come out as the top point scorer. They've still increased the gap, especially when Mercedes have had a bad weekend. They've increased the gap by 27 points again.
Yeah.
Like this, I really think they're going to wrap up this Constructors' Championship quite quickly because
it's going to be wrapped up in Silverstone at this rate.
Yeah, look at that gap, 132 points. It just keeps increasing. And I want them to wrap it up soon because then they can't be like, oh, we should do team orders. They can crash each other out every weekend if they wanted, you know.
Yeah. Well,
like,
I think
I don't want that.
Actually, yeah, that could be very fun. Let's see.
But I do want a fair fight, and if they don't have to worry about the constructors, if they don't have to worry about the constructors, then that's one less thing. I think this is good for Ferrari. The fact that they are properly putting themselves back in the conversation. And we can hope that they have more weekends where they're good in qualifying as well, because with that race pace, they really could have been on for a podium if they hadn't been out in Q2. They could have been on for a double. I mean, especially seeing how the race went. Oscar was very vulnerable at the end. Like, oh, maybe not Lando though, to be fair. I don't know.
You never know.
Lando definitely had some.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see, right? But yeah, for that, I think Williams is the Aston Martin of this year. They're in like a no man's land between P4 and P6. So they've cemented themselves, I think, as the P5 car. The best of the rest. And I mean, I don't know, Haas would have to move a mountain, I think, to get that gap down, given their rocky performances, inconsistencies. And same with Aston, like they're close to Haas, but even with a double Q3, they couldn't monopolize on that in the race.
Yeah, I think for me, what's frustrating is I'm looking at where Racing Bulls are, and when they had Yuki, like they really fucked up his strategies a bit at the first race, definitely. And you know, he did get some points with them, but if I look at what their potential was for at this point, they should really be up there with like Haas, you know.
Yeah, they should be P6, I think, especially with their pace in like the first 3 races.
Yeah, and it's arguable that like Williams would not have 51 points if VCarb had, you know, they might be on 40 points and VCarb might be on like 25 or 30. You know, so they could have VCarb really screwed things up for themselves because, you know, now they had Isaac who's really putting in good performances, and they had Yuki. They would have had that like sort of that potential for double points at most races, which Williams now has. So it's with, and you know, obviously Liam's still not quite there. God knows what's going to happen to him this year because he's really not coming to the party. But yeah, it's just it's like it's wasted opportunity there, and one kind of feels, yeah, they're not a P8 team, I don't believe. But that's where they're sitting, and they have been sitting there for like 3 years. So it's just like it's just Faenza things because that's what they do. They just drop the ball and end up P8 every year.
There is honestly nothing that annoys me more than a bad strategy call being the reason that a race is ruined. And onto that, we can move on to the Paradise and Purgatory. And oh my God, it's me first. Would you look at that? It's McLaren. First of all, I hope you loved that segue. The pit stops. Beautiful. What on earth? 3 out of 4 pit stops were over 3 seconds. For the team, I mean, they're lucky enough that they've got that amazing car behind them because that really could have screwed them if the fight was closer. That's just, it's a weekend to forget for the mechanics. Only 1 pit stop. I mean, it was nice. It was a 2.1 for Lando. That was the only good one. But all of the others being over 3 seconds is not good enough for a team that's leading the constructors. Yeah, let's not do that.
We won't get into that. We'll save that for the end of season.
But off-season. It's it looks bad. It's a bad look. You can't, I mean, that's like when Red Bull had those issues in Bahrain. It just makes you look silly. You can't keep messing that up. Like, and then now let's talk strategy for Oscar, right? The medium tire had a little period where it started to grain and go bad. And Oscar was like, oh, I don't know about this. And then they pulled him into the pits. It wasn't like, pit me now, my tire's dead. It was like, oh, maybe let's think about it. And then they said, okay, I don't know, we're going to try for an undercut on Max, or we're going to try to hold off Leclerc, who was like 10 miles behind and he didn't matter. No offense, but you know, it's a different race. Pull him into so much traffic, and then, oh my God, would you look at that? The medium tire has a second life. It's going so well. And mind, Oscar really was still running well on those mediums. Like, he was keeping that gap to around 2 seconds to Max. There wasn't he wasn't falling off.
Didn't Max do like half the race on the mediums?
Yeah. Like all the way to the virtual safety car, which was beautifully timed for him. He did that all on mediums, and that was definitely like halfway through. And so, you know, that's just like, there was a second life in those medium tires, and I don't think Oscar was saying, you have to pit me right now because they're about to explode, right? And so for them to go, I mean, I think Williams did the same thing with Sainz, and he also recovered, so good for him. But this is like a case that I think Racing Bulls had a similar situation. I don't remember which race, it might have been China, where they committed to a 2-stop too early, and then it obviously ended up being a 2-stop because of the 3 pit stops and the safety cars, but I don't think it would have been without. It would have been a 1-stop. And then Oscar had to clear all that traffic and that meant his tires were worse off again. And it just meant he lost so much time and was stuck in the traffic. I just think you could have handled that so much better. You should have been more flexible. And then obviously they learned that lesson more with Lando, and I think at least they didn't pull a full Racing Bulls and do it to both cars, right? At least they realized and went, wait a second, this car has a second life. It's unfortunate that it happened to Oscar, but, you know, I'm not going to go calling sabotage because sometimes teams just make silly mistakes, right? That's fine. It happens, but it shouldn't happen, especially like when you have your two drivers fighting for a championship. You can't be doing silly strategies. You just can't. Like, it can't be happening. You're leading the constructors. You're leading the drivers. You just can't do it. Anyway, that's my rant over. I hope you enjoyed it. I really had to repress a lot of emotions yesterday, but it's okay.
Oh. Yeah, a lot of emotions yesterday about everything.
Getting the full F1 experience.
Yeah. It's always so much worse for me when it's strategy, because it's like, I can get over the thing at turn 1 because, you know, Oscar was caught napping a bit. He should have gone later on the brakes, and he admitted that, and that's a mistake, and we move on. But it's like, he could have, I mean, even still fought for the lead if it weren't for that early pit stop, right? It wasn't off the table. He was 2 seconds behind. And then it was just gone. So, same with the Racing Bulls in China. Yuki was on for points, and then it was just gone because nobody else did a 2-stop, and no fault of his own. And then his front wing broke. So
that was painful.
That was miserable.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think painful even quite covers that. Like,
no. Yeah, China. Wow, China was like a double-edged sword for me.
There was definitely a race.
Yeah,
there's definitely something that happened.
Okay, so thanks, Immy. I will. Oh no, it's not me next. It's Niamh. Okay, Niamh, who is your purgatory candidate this week?
My purgatory candidate is the stewards, mainly because of all the delays we had in qualifying, where they couldn't decide if Ollie's lap was or was not valid, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, it's actually not valid." But if you look at his onboards, it should have been valid. But anyway, I won't get too much into that. But also because there were so many delays in qualifying that I very nearly missed the start of Indy 500 qualifying, which I was super excited about. And then, obviously, Yuki had his big crash. I had a heart attack. And I was like, you know what? I'll watch a bit of this qualifying. It'll calm me down a little bit because nothing else is going to happen. Well, nothing else did happen for like a whole hour. And then I was like, okay, you know what? Indy 500 qualifying will be less stressful. I put it on. It's going fine. The only driver to crash in their qualifying run is my favorite driver. He does an entire flip. It's a scary crash. And I'm just sat there like, oh my God, what the hell? My heart genuinely stopped twice. Because like, it was just like Yuki's accident. And I messaged one of my friends and I was like, oh my God, I think I've just had a heart attack. And I like explained it to her and she was like, oh, it can't be that bad. And I was able to find videos on TikTok and send them to her and she went, oh my God, that's horrifying. That's terrifying. Is everyone okay? I was like, yeah, they're fine, but oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, that was unfortunate. I think with Ollie's lap, although the stewards are saying, oh, the red flag was put out before he crossed the line, the fact that there was a 5-second delay for that red flag getting to the panels is something that at this level of motorsport cannot be allowed. 5 seconds. Maybe that red flag was flying somewhere, but it wasn't on the LED panel. For that, you can't allow that kind of delay. Like, so, I mean, it's fine that Ollie's lap got rescinded. I'll live with that, but that should be more of an instant sort of recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the way I see it, like when the guy pushes the button to call a red flag, that's the moment the red flag happens. Whether or not you can see the red flag on the screen, it's not about that. It's that the session has ended. Anyone on a lap, doesn't matter if it's 5 seconds, 50 seconds, 10 seconds, 1 second, half a second, your lap doesn't count anymore. You know, like that's just it. So like, I think what needed to happen there is the stewards just need to be very firm about these things. Just say, sorry, we pushed the button at this exact time. Ollie was 300 meters from the finish line or whatever. Doesn't count.
Mm-hmm.
That simple.
I mean,
just be like on top of it, you know, and just be like, this is the rule. What Ollie saw or what you saw doesn't actually matter. What matters is what time the button was pushed, because that's the only time that matters. Because a red flag is like, it's a serious thing. So it's not like, oh, did you see it? Did you not see it? It's not like a yellow flag where you're like, oh, you know, like it was, oh, he didn't see it, so therefore it's okay because there was a yellow background or whatever. You know, those things. Like, it's not the same thing. This means that the session's over. So, like, sorry, it is what it is. You know, it's unfair. It happens often and it screws people over all the time. It is what it is, you know. That's why you got to get that banker lap in. And
yeah, and I mean,
Yuki, because then you crash into the wall.
Is what ended up happening, but it took a long time for that to happen. So that should have definitely been more of a, this is when the flag was pushed. But I think they were spending a lot of time looking at the timing of everything everywhere to check that they were making the right decision. Because if you remember, oh God, we've had so many races in recent succession. I don't remember which one, but one of them, somebody should have been through to Q2 or Q3 because somebody else's
Alex
lap
Albon.
was out of. Thank you.
It was Nico Hulkenberg.
Bahrain, was
track
it?
limits, and they didn't start investigating it until 40 minutes after.
Exactly.
And it was like,
so. I think what they wanted there was not to do that again. They wanted to be very firm and sure in their decision and make sure they didn't send the wrong driver out, because, you know, having that happen twice in quick succession would just look incredibly silly. So I wish they'd done it quicker, but I sort of understand why it took so long, because you want to be certain. But what I do think, and I do agree, when the red flag is out, that's the time, whether it's on the panel or not. It should be on the panel quicker, however, because there are so many different ways of communicating a red flag. So if one is not seen, another is, because it is that serious. And a 5-second delay, that's, you know, what if it didn't show up on his dash for whatever reason? What if there wasn't somebody with a flag for whatever reason and the crash was right ahead of him? I mean, obviously it was fine, but red flags are here for safety. So
yeah. No, I can agree with that. Okay. Well, next up is me. And yeah, so my purgatory candidate is not Franco Colapinto. It's not really even Franco Colapinto's fans. It's a group of supposed Colapinto fans from Argentina who saw a out of context clip of Yuki. I don't even know if Yuki gave him the middle finger or just kind of went, "What are you doing, bro?"
I don't think. Yeah, I think it was more of a general.
The angle is like this, and I can't see if it's one finger or two. Like, I don't know. It is what it is.
Like,
you know,
3 fingers, and it's just like,
it's just
famous swearing symbol.
You know, like maybe he was doing like, "Watch where you're going, bro." You know, like, I don't know.
Whatever, Major.
Whatever it is, if Yuki had given him the middle finger, even like it happens, you know, it's not. And I know some people might say, "Oh, but what about like when Liam did it to Perez last season?" It's a very different context. It's. And
also, I feel like not a lot of Perez fans hounded Liam in the same way. I mean, there was a lot of like, you shouldn't have done that. That's quite rude, but not like racial insult. So.
Yeah. So let me get to that part, because that's really what the serious issue is here. Like Yuki's Instagram feed, Yuki's Instagram page from the Miami Grand Prix, I think it was just inundated with comments from in Spanish, okay, from like ostensibly from people from Argentina who went on the rampage and just called him like racial slurs. They made allusions to like the bombing of Hiroshima. They made comments about, they called him like a Chinaman or like a China. I think they just called him China. Like that was the translation, you know? So I don't know if the translations are 100% accurate, but they basically alluded to him being from China and not from Japan. And then they called him like Pokemon and stuff like that. And and made comments about his eyes and like a whole bunch of weird, just very dodgy, like racist behavior. And I want to just say what, like, and like why I want to make very clear that like I'm not associating Franco with this, is that Franco actually said at the thing, hold on, I'm gonna just play this quickly. I don't know if you can actually see it.
I don't know if that's gonna work.
I was like, oh, it's subtitled. I'll just read it to you, but the subtitles are not in English. So I need to just play. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but I'll tell you what he says. He says,
you know, the Argentinian fans and I think Latin American fans, they are very passionate, they are very euphoric, and they love supporting their athletes and the people that they feel close to them. And I think, you know, they've been always there, and they have been always very supportive. But yeah, I think always trying to.
It was good before you started breaking up, and so we
give the
lost
respect to all the drivers and agree. That's the main thing that the fans should do.
yeah,
I'm sure the impact is there. Yeah, he spoke on it.
Am I here?
So
yeah,
you're back now.
Yeah,
you're frozen.
you're back now. It's okay. We got bits and bobs.
We got the
know,
important
some of
bits.
it was
We heard
there.
respect the drivers.
Yeah.
Am I here? I don't know.
Yeah. So he spoke on it, which is good and respectable. And I think a notable thing as well is he also defended IndyCar drivers last year who were getting death threats from Argentinian fans of a different Argentinian driver in the IndyCar series. You are here, vaguely. And so it's been noted in the past that he doesn't support this kind of behavior. I think it was definitely needed for him to talk about it. Do I think it will fix it? Probably not. You know?
No.
I don't think it will, but at least he's spoken on it, and that is respectable and the right thing to do. And I thought it was really heartwarming that when Yuki spoke on it as well, he brought up Jack and the death threats that Jack received. So I think because that was a big thing as well. And so there's a lot of support between drivers, which is quite nice. Oh, he died.
Okay, am I back?
Huh?
No, you're not back.
No, you're not.
Anyway,
I'm going to start on my
for his bit.
Yeah, I'm going to start on my Paradise before he breaks out of internet jail. Okay. For Paradise, for the Imola Grand Prix, I have gone with Alex Albon. We have spoken a lot about him already, so I might keep this a bit more short and concise, which is quite hard for me. I like a good yap. But yeah, for him to have multiple P5 finishes and to be constantly putting that car in a position to sort of get more points from Ferrari issues, from Mercedes issues, always being there to benefit from other teams' losses, exactly what you want from a midfield driver, exactly what you want. Just being consistent and being there. And that is what is rewarding him with these high finishes. Because obviously, last time out, I think he beat both Ferraris and a Mercedes. This time out, both Ferraris and a Mercedes. And the other one was also down the road. So it's just putting the car there constantly to be when the Ferraris and the Mercedes and the Red Bulls of the world aren't doing so well, he is there. Anyway,
I think we should put Alex Albon in like a third McLaren car. It doesn't count for the constructors or anything, but we just see if he can win the championship.
I really, honestly, I mean, he's quite loyal to Williams. I feel like he'd stay, and we should definitely see what kind of car they can cook up in 2026. Maybe it will be a front runner, given their development trajectory, sort of similar to McLaren. I just really hope he's a front-running car. I really want to see him fight for a championship because this showing is just... He's, even when Williams hasn't been good, he has been there. I need him in a good car.
If we go backwards, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah, no, I know.
Genuinely, that will be my final straw. I will give up, and I'll just go and lie in a puddle or something.
James Fowles, please don't pull a Ferrari. Believe in your little numbers and your coffees or whatever. I don't know, there's that one clip of him from Drive to Survive. Please do not go backwards. We need Williams and McLaren title fight would be fun. It's like bringing back the
Ferrari
oldies.
in there. Bring back the 80s.
Yeah. It's just Red Bull has to go away. Bye-bye.
Red Bull is going to go away. Like, it doesn't look promising for next year.
Well, maybe. We'll see.
They're in Mercedes
we'll see,
for a bit of fun, you know?
They're still up there this year. I feel like people have been a bit dramatic about it. I mean, look, Max Verstappen, your winner. So you can't do that in a bad car.
I think the upgrades
Max
are working.
Could. You could put him in the Sauber and he'd finish P7 or something.
Yeah, I do think the upgrades are working. And I also think, notably, Red Bull does still have a second car problem. Yuki is doing a better job, but it is still such a learning curve and such a hard car to control that the reason that I think they are third in the championship is because they do not have two drivers that can bring out the full potential of the car yet. I think also...
Yuki's car is not the same as Max's.
That's true. Less upgrades.
Like, I think if that's why, like, so obviously because Max gets the upgrades first. So like he got the floor and then Yuki got the floor. He got some more stuff this week and Yuki was supposed to get it next week or whatever. And then the car that Yuki actually drove the race in was just like a Frankenstein of parts they had in the garage.
Yeah.
You know,
because I mean, that crash pretty much obliterated any of the upgrades, unfortunately. So that makes what he did even more impressive. And so let's hope we can see a good qualifying showing from him in Monaco.
I don't know if they're going to be... Yeah. I don't know when those cars are going to be equal. It might only be after like summer break or something, you know? So that's when you'll actually be able to see like what's the dynamic there. You know, it's just, and it is what it is, but yeah, nothing we can really do about that. And I understand why they're taking that direction. It's just frustrating because it does make that difference even bigger, you know? Yes, we understand that there will be a difference to Max Verstappen. He's a world champion, you know, like I'm not expecting Yuki to be beating him, but it does make Yuki's gap look so much worse, this like car deficit. But anyway, it is what it is. Niamh, Paradise, who did well?
Aston Martin. Qualifying, not bad.
Yeah, that's the brackets.
Yeah. It's coming. Like, I was sat and I was trying to think of something. I was like, oh, well, I could say so-and-so. Oh, wait, no, never mind. They DNF'd, or that was appalling. And I was just like, I can't actually think of anything. I was like, you know what? Aston Martin qualified well. Fernando Alonso did not look entirely depressed. And also, I think some of the Niamh upgrades are coming in soon based off of some of the things that I saw, like, quotes. I don't know how true they were because they were, like, reposted graphics and stuff. But, like,
I don't know. Like, I'm very certain every time that the drivers have been asked if there anything Niamh about this upgrade, it's been no. I feel like he's helping the tool with 2025. It's more like a light brush than anything substantial. They can still hope it helps them. But I do think what they did in this qualifying, they maybe outdrove the car, like strategy-wise, a bit by saving those mediums and using those mediums. Because, I mean, obviously they fell back in the race, and I don't know how much of that was maybe the safety car didn't benefit them. I know for one of the restarts, they didn't have new tires. And that, it might have been the virtual safety car, but I'm not sure. That didn't help them at all. So maybe a strategy wonder in qualifying was a strategy blunder in the race. But yeah, definitely a good and hopeful showing for them, and maybe they can try the same in Monaco.
I mean, to me, it kind of felt like Fernando Alonso finally accepted that he's going to retire at the end of the season, because I've never heard him like that before. He was so just frustrated, angry, upset, every emotion possible. And I was like, damn, this man's like in his feelings. It's bad.
Yeah.
So like,
I mean,
but yeah,
I do if I were him, I'd be holding on for a year, but
I don't know hold on for 26. If you're still awful, you can give up and go do the Indy 500 again, or was it some rallying he did? You can go and do that for fun.
But yeah, it's definitely disheartening, especially because he ended P11, which is just like the worst position to end. Definitely disheartening to go from P5 all the way down, but at least it wasn't like he started P11, finished P11. There is some pace in that car. You know, it's not like we're stuck here. There is pace. They had an upgrade that actually helped for once, which I feel like has been something that we haven't seen from Aston Martin in a long, long time. So there are positives to take away from the weekend for them.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's see if my internet's gonna keep itself together for this next segment. My candidate for Paradise is fittingly the Halo. I only just clicked now. That's like an angelic thing, and that makes quite a lot of sense because, as we have discussed, Yuki had a crash in qualifying. I would argue it's his worst crash he's ever had. I think he actually said his car has never been upside down before. So it was like on a level. Look, it wasn't nearly as bad as Zhou Guanyu's crash a few years back, but it was like it certainly evoked the memories of that crash, just being upside down, hitting the fence. Obviously, like we saw it almost immediately. He got out of the car, he walked away. He was a bit sore, but he was fine, you know. And I mean, like that's my driver, bro. Like that scares me, you know. That's my guy, and I would hate if anything happened to him. And he is alive today because of the Halo. There's no way that he would have been able to walk out of that crash like 10 years ago. Like I just don't see it happening. I don't know how old is the Halo now. I actually forgot, but maybe
2018.
Okay,
2018,
great.
The first driver it saved was Charles Leclerc.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, so you know, and the people who came up with that, the design, the fight to have it implemented. I know there's lots of people who kind of say, it ruins the aesthetic of the cars or whatever, it makes it too heavy, whatever. Like, I'm sorry, drivers being alive is far more important than anything else.
I also think as the years go on, it becomes more and more liked. I feel like the amount of people that dislike it now are a very tiny minority, because you can argue that maybe on the 2018 car, it didn't look good, but as the cars have been built with the Halo in mind, like the chassis, etc., it is a part of the car. You look at that car, I honestly couldn't see it without the Halo, right? Because that's what it's been built to include. Whereas with the 2018 car, it was actually more just sort of slapped on, which is maybe why. I mean, even the point of it looks bad is a stupid point to begin with. It is, because who cares?
I mean, have you seen? You need to go look at certain like Formula One cars from the past. They had like these ugly. Like I remember one had like it almost looked like an elephant nose. There was just like weird things going on, like hideous, disgusting designs. You know, like Formula One doesn't always have to be pretty. These cars are like chock full of just like bare carbon fiber. They're not always aesthetic. You know, what's important is they go very fast. They go vroom vroom, but they don't go boom boom. Okay, that's like it's like very basically that is what needs to happen. Vroom, no boom, and they've achieved that. You know, it's so important. And like Yuki is alive today, or at least in a healthy state today. uninjured because of that thing. And I think it is one of the greatest things to ever happen to Formula One. And yeah, that is my candidate for Paradise. And just because I got cut off, like, don't be cunts in the comments of people's Instagram feeds, guys. Like, don't. Be nice to Yuki, be nice to Franco. Like, things happen.
Nice to Jack.
And
yeah,
you know, be nice to Jack. And don't and you know, it and I could learn from this too, you know, don't make fun of someone's crash, because 5 minutes later your guy might just crash too.
Yeah.
And then you're just gonna look like an idiot. So Tay, just quickly, I want to read a comment here. Said, I got to sit in a Japanese F4 car the other day. They didn't have the halo until last year. It felt very exposed to have my head that high, and I can't imagine going at F1 speeds without the halo. So, yep, definitely. You know, looking at that picture that you've got for Niamh's prediction, like, that halo just fits. It's part of, as you were saying, it's part of the car. You know, the one in mine is like a slightly different color to like the bodywork of the car, but there on the Aston, they've even got it the same color, and it just blends in. It's part of the overall design of it, and it looks great. And
it makes the cars look very streamlined, to be honest. It works well on the newer liveries, even if it is a different color, because I don't think all the cars have the same halo colors. It works with Aston. But yeah, it looks nice now. I mean, I could argue maybe I don't love the look of an aero screen in Indy, to be honest, but like, we don't have an aero screen.
That chassis is like 15 years old. So
yeah, well, there you go. That's the answer, exactly.
Everything's been Frankensteined on there. So we're getting a new one in a couple of years. But also just safety standards in general, because obviously there was a massive crash in British superbikes like a week or two ago, where 2 people lost their life and like 4 were in hospital, and it was absolutely terrifying to hear about, because I heard about it before they confirmed that there's people in hospital and 2 people have lost their life, and I was like, that's terrifying. And then obviously with Yuki's crash and then all the Indy 500 practices and qualifying, there's been like 4 or 5 absolutely terrifying crashes within the last 2-3 days that I watched. I saw replays of, and I just went, no, 5-10 years ago you were looking at planning several funerals here, and I was just like, thank God for safety.
Yeah. And on that note, to thank God, we're sending up these 3 individuals to say hi. Alex Albon.
He's already got a halo, so
Aston Martin and a halo. You can go on top of Alex's head, Mr. Halo, because he's an angel. And yeah, so Alex, Aston, and the halo, you are for pleasing the gods of motorsport, you are granted entrance into Paradise. Ascend. And we're almost on an hour, so let's keep this ball rolling. Our prediction recap. Okay, so as we said, every week we predict what's going to happen in the Grand Prix. Make sure you subscribe so you can catch our predictions on Wednesday for the Monaco Grand Prix. But Immy, what did we predict?
We started with pole, as we always do, and only 2 of us were successful. There are a range of options.
Why is Lacey black and white?
Oh, you've decided that Lacey doesn't count.
It was a mistake I made. It was going so well.
It was a mistake.
It was a mistake.
That's okay. Lacey, you get a point. You come see me. If Immy doesn't give you your point, you come talk to me and I'll sort it out for you.
Going full teacher mode.
I'll go change that afterwards. I'm going to change it. Me, Tay, and Lacey, even though it doesn't look like it, predicted Oscar pole, and that is what happened. Niamh?
Oh, I went with my gut. I was sat on the bus. I literally typed them out and sent them.
Your gut was wrong.
That sounds stupid.
It was so wrong. Your gut could not have been more wrong.
Oh well.
I'm surprised, to be honest, that nobody predicted Max. I mean, he obviously didn't get pole, but it was a close thing. So, but to each their own. Anyway, yeah. Some people did well. Some people sort of maybe cursed Kimmy a little bit there. And then the podium. Look at, good on you, yes, congratulations. Look at the sheer amount of Mercedes here. Just wow. Like, we all really, I don't know what train you guys were riding. Like, Mercedes weren't even amazing in Miami.
Don't worry, it gets worse from this point. It gets worse.
Yes. Oh, it does get worse. So, congratulations. Congratulations on your point. Not getting one for P2 though, are you?
No, because I also went, and as did Niamh, down this ridiculous Mercedes weirdness that we had going.
So yeah, Lacey, Tay, and me got this point as well. We seem to be on a little roll here together.
Tay would like to know what we were thinking. I can't speak for everyone else, but the answer was I was not thinking. I was genuinely sat there on the bus, typed out a bunch of names, sent it, and went, "That's stupid, but it's what my gut's telling me." So,
sorry, I'm having a little skim.
I do kind of think it's very funny. I keep always saying like, "Oh, there's too much orange. There's too much orange," but like the only ones that are correct are the orange ones.
Apart from P1, Willow gets
P1,
the point. Kira,
this is where it really went off the rails for Kira.
Oh dear. Maybe a bit ambitious there. That's okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of us will predict a McLaren win because that seems like the most likely option, but Max is always there. Someone should always predict Max for a win, never count him out. Willow often does it. Congratulations to you. It has paid off today. Yeah. Luckily enough though, if you'll see, my podium consisted of Oscar and Lando and Max. So I get beautiful, lovely, right podium, wrong order point. Nobody else gets it because everybody else put a Mercedes on the podium. So,
hypothetically, for the next round, could I just predict Oscar for every single position on the podium?
No, because you'll be dooming yourself.
I would be.
Because what if he doesn't even get a podium?
This week.
No, but also he can't be 3 people.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I reckon he can drive 3 cars at once. I believe in him. Give him an F3 car and an F2 car, and he'll get all 3 positions.
You have to think about the beautiful right podium, wrong order point. You'll instantly not get that.
I haven't got that anyway.
I know, but it is a possibility. It happened to me.
Yes, I got it one week as well. It does happen. So what I will say is, if you thought this week's predictions were completely like crazy, wait till you see what I've predicted for Monaco, because that's just. I literally picked like, what's the most unlikely thing to happen, and I went with that.
I was thinking of doing the same thing. So you kind of. I
was like, let's spice things up a bit. It's Monaco. It's such a boring race. At least I can have fun with my predictions. So if I get 0, at least I had fun.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And then the wild card.
We always do well with wild card.
We've had better weekends, but this was quite a good one still. I predicted impeding and qualifying. It actually didn't happen, which is maybe unfortunate, but that's okay.
There always seems to be impeding around Imola, even if you're like playing the F1 game.
Yeah,
like there always seems to be some car that's impeding you, and you're just like.
I mean, Franco was doing a lot of impeding in free practice, but you obviously don't get a grid penalty for that, and it wasn't qualifying. So and then Uno's lovely prediction: Franco will cause a red flag. Yeah, you were right. Good for you. Maybe not good for Franco.
Yeah.
Tay predicted that Isaac would score more than 1 point, and he scored 2. So congratulations to Tay. Kira predicted that a top 4 car would crash, and maybe I jinxed Yuki a bit by using a picture of a Red Bull. So
pick a McLaren next time, please.
Absolutely not.
You guys have got like a 6 race win lead on everyone else. You can cope with 1 crash.
I actually couldn't cope with a P3 yesterday, so no, I can't cope. I can't cope with a crash. Don't know what that'll do
a picture of I don't know, Danny Rick's car or something. Pick a really old McLaren.
See, I think this might be Perez though.
Oh,
and it still didn't.
You need to pick a really, really old Fernando Alonso McLaren for the picture. Because then that should work sufficiently to still jinx a top team, but maybe also get Fernando, for the fun.
What?
I don't want him to crash. I just think it would be funny if you did that.
Oh gosh. Anyway, Lee predicted that a driver below P10 would double their points. And it looked like that might have happened for Carlos, but then Williams sort of two-stop fumbled him, so that didn't happen. Still like P8 for Carlos, which is good, but it wasn't a doubling. Niamh, congratulations to you. You predicted that a car would get beached, and Isaac fulfilled that wish.
Lacey predicted it better, but
yeah, but at least it was free practice.
Yeah,
and the end
didn't count. Didn't matter.
Lacey predicted a Ferrari DNF, which didn't happen, surprisingly, because there were lots of like stats. The last Ferrari double Q2 exit ended in a double DNF.
I would argue if I was Lacey that like Ocon's engine DNF'd, but no, doesn't quite count. No, but yeah, it would have been. I would have tried to argue that point just a bit to see if I could get it away with it.
You would have tried, and you would have failed.
It would have been no.
Trying's most important. Trying's the most important part, Niamh.
Sure.
And then Willow predicted double Williams points, which might have to stop being a wild card because it happens now. It's like a free point.
I think we need to put a blanket ban on.
And then here are the standings. And I do have to add a point to Lacey's, so sorry, Lacey, but I'll do that post. In
fairness, it doesn't change Lacey's position.
It doesn't. No, but
it just brings her one closer.
I've had a lovely weekend again somehow, so yay to me. But Uno, look at you. You're in P2 now.
Wasn't I I was like 5th last week, I'm sure.
I think you were 3rd. You were behind Kira and Niamh.
You jumped me and Kira.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Willow moved ahead of Lee as well.
Yeah.
And Tay has moved level, so it's getting quite tight. Apart from at the front.
Oh.
Yeah. Is that a challenge? Is that a challenge? Because we can easily do that.
Can you?
Yeah.
You can't
delete all of your messages with the thingies, with your predictions, and then we can be like, oh, but you didn't send it in.
I make the graphic though.
And if you don't send it in, we can't say for sure.
I think I'm the one person you can't do that to.
Say in the comments
when you're off on exams.
I'm making my comeback. Yes, Tay.
I'm still making the graphics though. Nobody's taken that from me. My little
we can
children.
Make Lacey do it. Come on. Make her pull her weight. Sorry, that sounds mean. I love Lacey. I really do.
That's so mean.
I don't think before I speak sometimes. Lacey, we love you. You're great. You're amazing. Your editing skills are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, try claw it back.
I'll
tag her in. I'll tag her in a random post that says, "I'm really sorry, I love you," and then just not reply to her for the whole day.
You might buy Barbara Streisand it though, like she might never find out.
Yeah. So before we cause a divorce in our TPR family due to irreconcilable differences, let us. I think is this the end?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes, the end. Okay, so thank you to everyone for tuning in to Traffic Paradise Radio. The road out of Imola is clear.
Sure. Yeah.
Actually,
that would be C.
Yeah.
That's
the right language. C is fine. Yeah, but then I corrected myself. I said C.
Sure.
I don't know what's happening, but anyway, thank you for watching. These things tend to get a bit chaotic towards the end always. So always make sure you stay till the end because that's where the best bit is. Because we do tend to go.
I wonder who Niamh will offend next. Tune in.
I'm thinking about it.
This season has been quite. We've offended people from different countries accidentally.
Maybe I'll go for the Glaswegians next.
Yeah. So yeah, let's
just like
see
an
where it goes.
internal war and not international.
Absolutely. So once more,
Civil
make
War.
sure you subscribe, hit the like button.
Watch Civil War. The
Yes,
YouTube video.
what
on
our Civil
page.
War video?
The Red Bull Civil War. Very lovely video.
Red Bull
Would
Civil
you look
War
at that?
top video? If you go to our most popular videos, kind of proud of that one because I made it.
Oh my god! Wait, sorry. Here's a really good point. Tay just said, "I can't believe none of the teams had drivers react to Italian brain rot this week."
I don't know what that is.
Alex Albon already knows it.
See, probably keep it that way. But they did it a couple weeks ago. But it would have made so much sense to do it in Italy. Alas, it's kind of died. You know how memes are nowadays. You breathe, you blink, and it's over. And Uno doesn't know about it, and it's better that way.
Okay. How dare you not know about
oh no,
no. I don't know.
Oh no.
Sorry, I don't know. I'm still trying to learn about all the things that like my Japanese students know, and I'm just like I thought I knew YouTubers, and now I'm just like, oh no, I only knew ones that spoke English. There's a whole world of YouTubers out there who are not speaking English, who are very famous. So I have to learn all about them. So yeah, I'm not. I don't have time for Italian brain rot TikTok or whatever it might be. But on that bombshell, is it TikTok? I don't know.
Yeah, if Alex Albon has time for it, so do you.
Oh dear.
Excuse me, he gets to fly around in private jets. He's got plenty of time, okay? Well, I'm commuting to work every day in a little Suzuki. So I don't have
bash
that.
Suzuki.
Hey?
Don't bash Suzuki.
I like my Suzuki. I think it's very cute. I love it.
He's just a Honda.
But it is a little Suzuki, and I'm not going to pretend it's not. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, leave a comment down below. Who was your paradise or purgatory pick? Do you think Niamh has gone too far by offending Lacey? Let us know in the comments below. And we will see you on Wednesday for the Monaco Grand Prix prediction.
You want to do Imola again?
Let's rerun
it.
Let's
rewind. Bye-bye. Perfect. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Done.
We're done.